Gilbert, the hungriest man on the face of the earth, Burns takes on Belal Muhammad this Saturday at UFC 288, and I'm going to give my official prediction. I'm not here to mince words, all right? I'm not going to give you guys a super in-depth breakdown on how Belal Muhammad does this really interesting thing. Like, at the end of the day, guys, I have a very clear-cut and dry prediction. I am bulletproof confident in this. I think that Gilbert Burns is going to easily defeat Belal Muhammad and knock him out in the second round. I don't see the fight going in any other direction other than a Gilbert Burns win. And I'm here to tell you why. I've rewatched their fights, all right? And I'm not just going to make a pick based on a gut feeling. I think some people that are picking Belal Muhammad are just going with their gut feeling. You know, I feel as if an upset's about to happen because everyone's going with Gilbert Burns, and usually when everyone's unified on a pick like this, the opposite comes true. At the end of the day, there is nothing that Belal Muhammad does, and there's no win that he's gotten that leads me to believe that he can bang with Gilbert Burns on the feet. And if you want to talk about the grappling, oh, he doesn't need to bang with Gilbert Burns on the feet, he will have no success on the ground. And it's not that, like, sure, he can take Gilbert Burns down and get back up to his feet, but he won't be able to control Gilbert Burns on the ground. He'll be able to get back up to his feet every goddamn time. I think we can all agree on that. And if you're looking at this from a point of view of a stand-up battle that is most likely going to take place this Saturday, Gilbert Burns wins 99 out of 100 times there. Belal Muhammad is coming off of 2 wins over 2 guys that are night and day different than Gilbert Burns when it comes to their speed, when it comes to how tricky they are on the feet. Vicente Luque, great win from Belal Muhammad. He was able to mix it up. He was able to have good moments on the feet. Vicente Luque is extremely predictable. He's slow. He is plotty. Yes, I just rewatched the fight. Compared to Gilbert Burns, Vicente Luque moves like a fucking tortoise, and he stands there with a high guard, and he's basically stationary. That's who he is as a fighter. He's not getting in and out. He's not faking level changes. He's not quick and explosive and constantly twitching on the feet, giving you different looks. That's not who Vicente Luque is. He's much easier to predict and deal with on the feet. And you're talking about Sean Brady, a grappler that doesn't have great wrestling, that is not in any way dangerous on the feet, that is not fast on the feet, that's not explosive, that doesn't have a lot of power in their hands, that has nothing to give Belal Muhammad a reason to back up and respect him. Gilbert Burns couldn't be more dissimilar than those 2 opponents. Burns is fast. Burns is explosive. Throughout his career, he has gotten a lot better at taking an economical approach to his fights. He has reeled himself back since the Kamaru Usman loss and figured out a way to not blow his wad early, to not overextend himself and go for broke in the early rounds. Gilbert Burns takes a very good economical approach, and that is the guy that is going to easily dismantle Belal Muhammad on the feet. We're not talking about a guy that is 6'2", with a 75-inch reach that's able to kick the legs of Gilbert Burns and stay at range for 5 rounds. That is something that Leon Edwards can do, and I actually would pick Leon Edwards to beat Gilbert Burns. But I do not see Belal Muhammad having this ability. At the end of the day, he is going to have to strike with Burns, and he is going to have to get within range of Gilbert in order to have success. And when he's in range, Burns will also be in range. And there's one thing that I learned while watching Gilbert Burns and Jorge Masvidal back. I think that Gilbert Burns has the fastest right hand in the division by far. The first right hand that Gilbert Burns threw against Jorge Masvidal, I had to rewind it 3 times because I kept fucking missing it because of how goddamn fast it was. His right hand is almost a lock to land on Belal Muhammad in the first round. And because Gilbert Burns has been able to reel himself back and take an economical approach to his fights, what do I mean by that? I mean that he knows that if he just goes for broke early on, he can gas himself out. So what he's done to change it up is you see him keeping a really safe distance from his opponents now when he opens up in his fights. He's faking level changes, he's feinting, he's coming in every now and then, he'll land a kill shot, a leg shot, a body shot. I always say kill shots because early on, Gilbert Burns is throwing everything in singular shots. He doesn't throw a lot of combos, and he's trying to catch you off guard with something fast, with something explosive. And I do not think Belal Muhammad is going to be able to close the distance without Gilbert Burns catching him with something big early on. I think he's going to land the right hand, and you'll see how goddamn fast Gilbert Burns' right hand is. Please rewatch the Masvidal fight, and you'll see the first thing he throws you'll miss it. It's so goddamn fast, it actually clips Masvidal. And he was able to beat the shit out of Jorge Masvidal in the third. And people talk about, Belal Muhammad maybe having the ability to go out there and break Gilbert Burns in the later rounds, because all of a sudden, just because he was able to beat Vicente Luque in a 5-rounder and wrestle here and there, he's Merab Dvalishvili. Belal Muhammad doesn't move forward against these big, heavy hitters. He actually is keen to sit on the outside, to move around laterally against the cage, and pitter-pat shot his way into getting a couple points on the board until he can land a takedown. The guy is not putting on a Merab-like pace. He has good cardio. I'm not going to argue that. But Gilbert Burns also has a pace. Gilbert Burns has broke guys with his pace many times before. He was able to do that to Jorge Masvidal in the third round. As he started to have more success in that fight, as Jorge Masvidal started to fade, Gilbert Burns started walking him down in the third round and bullying him against the fence, landing at will and absolutely destroying this man. He was teeing off on Jorge, and Jorge Masvidal, despite getting knocked out a few years ago, still has a very good chin. And I don't think that fucking Belal Muhammad is going to be able to stay in there with Gilbert Burns marching him down at points like a Jorge. We're also forgetting that Jorge Masvidal is a good striker. I understand he's old, but he's much more defensively responsible than Belal Muhammad, who constantly leaves his chin exposed. That's another thing that I want to mention. I see Belal Muhammad when he throws his hands, those slow, plotty hands, his chin is always open. And I firmly believe that Gilbert Burns will be willing to let that right hand fly or a big hook when Belal Muhammad is throwing one of those combinations with not a lot of sting on it to land a big shot. And I know for a fucking fact that he's going to get hit with something big and dropped. Again, people, if you're picking Belal Muhammad, how does he get it done? If it's not a fluke injury, if Gilbert Burns doesn't slip on a literal banana peel that a fan throws in the octagon, I don't see how he gets the better of Burns on the feet. His best game plan would be to kick at range, to try his best to stay on his bike on the back foot, moving around laterally across the octagon, just poking and prodding at the legs of Gilbert Burns, waiting for the later rounds to make something happen, every now and then shooting a takedown, trying to get a clinch situation up against the fence. But you talk about the takedown. If he does take Gilbert Burns down, it's possible because I believe that he's a better wrestler than Burns, but Burns will get right back up to his feet. So you're talking about the only reason Belal would shoot a takedown would be to put Gilbert Burns in a reaction fight, to just push him somewhere, just fling his body somewhere to make him think that, you don't really know where this fight's going. But he doesn't have some crazy ability to do that 50 times in a fight like Merab. At the end of the day, it's going to be a stand-up battle, and Gilbert Burns is so many levels above Belal on the feet. He's gotten so much better since the Kamaru Usman fight. He's so much more defensively sound. He's so much more responsible when it comes to his output and how to control his cardio throughout a 5-rounder, a 3-round fight. And he will be able to easily land on Belal. Dude, Belal is sloppy as fuck on the feet. He's a sloppy mess. I'm not going to mince words. I had a different recollection of the Vicente Luque fight. I remember that his body kicks were lightning fast and that Belal Muhammad was able to have some success with his hands. But when I rewatched those fights, dude, he's a sloppy mess. He's punching up like a fool, dude. He has some of the worst technique I've ever seen when he throws his hands. And the only thing that he kind of does well is he has a good 1-2 every now and then, and he has a couple of good body kicks in his arsenal, but that's kind of it. And Sean Brady is an absolute bum on the feet. The guy is slow as fuck. Belal Muhammad, honestly, I'm just going to say this right now. He kind of reminds me of a fast Ben Askren. Like, he is really not... The way that he throws his punches, it really reminds me of the way Ben Askren throws his punches. It's a little bit more athletic. And I'm not shitting on the guy. I think he's a good fighter. I think his ability to mix it up is great, and there's a reason why he's worked his way up here, but who has Burns really even lost to? We're talking about one man in prime Kamaru Usman and Khamzat Chimaev, which arguably he won. And these guys are completely different beasts. Kamaru Usman has a 76-inch reach. Khamzat Chimaev is what, 6'1", 6'2", can stay at the end of his jab, has a long reach as well. In order to beat Gilbert Burns, you have to fight behind a jab. You have to fight behind some reach. And you also have to have a furious pace as well. And Belal Muhammad, he does have good cardio, but he doesn't put on a furious pace against guys like this. And I don't think he will be able to, because every time he tries to close the distance, he'll be discouraged when he gets hit with a big shot from Gilbert Burns. That right hand is such a piston. It is such a weapon. And I really don't think that Belal Muhammad's going to be able to have success on the feet without getting cracked. And the only way he wins this is if he just miraculously survives until the later rounds. I don't see Gilbert Burns submitting Belal Muhammad. I don't see that happening. The only way he's able to latch up a submission, in my opinion, is if he rocks Belal, you know, wobbles him, and Belal's dazed and just ready to get taken out. Can Belal finish Burns? Yes, of course. He has a ability. Everyone has a puncher's chance. But I'm sorry, man. Again, please explain to me. If you really rewatch these fights, it's one thing to look back and think in your memory of, well, Belal looked good against Luque, and but like, you need to watch these guys. You need to watch his opponents. Gilbert Burns is 3 times as fast as any of these guys that Belal's beaten. And he's got shitloads of power in his hand. He's explosive as fuck. Like, every time he throws something big and lands it, he's moving his head, and he's getting out of the way, and he's resetting. He's going to come out slow. He's going to be standing at range, keeping a safe distance, getting ready for the takedown. He's going to be landing some big leg kicks, some big body kicks, and eventually Belal Muhammad's going to come in a little close, and Gilbert Burns is going to clip him with the right hand. I think he's going to drop him in the first round, win the round there. I think the second round, Gilbert Burns is going to be a little bit more confident to walk Belal down. He's going to start to see the speed of Belal and feel like he can deal with it, feel like he can get out of the way of these shots. And when Belal lets his hands go and leaves his chin exposed, Gilbert Burns is going to hit him with something big, follow up with a hook, and I think he's going to knock him out. Second round KO. I do not understand people. It really, really amazes me how anyone's picking Belal here. This is probably my most confident pick in a long time. As I said, the only way I really see Burns losing this is if he slips on a banana peel and somehow there's a fluke. He should win. Please rewatch his fight with Vicente Luque, Belal Muhammad that is. The guy, again, fast Ben Askren. And Vicente Luque is a very rudimentary striker in the way that he comes forward. He's like a Muay Thai guy. Closed guard, marches you down, very stationary. Like, Belal moves around a lot, but guess who else moves around a lot? Gilbert Burns. The guy is always moving around. He's always keeping a safe distance. He's very hard to prepare for. And the way that he has made adjustments to be more composed in these fights makes him so much more dangerous. And in order to beat him, you have to be able to have a long reach. You have to be able to have a really tall frame, and you have to be able to kick him at range or just keep him at the end of his jab. And Belal doesn't have the ability to do that. Belal has to be able to box with him, and that's not going to happen. So I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. Until next time.
If you're still eating seed oil and soy-filled cookies like Oreos, you're just demolishing your health. So I'm gonna show you guys how to make some real cookies that are both healthy and delicious.
We're gonna make my famous chocolate chip cookies. Combine 2 pasture-raised eggs with some grass-fed or raw butter, some good quality animal fats, add some organic vanilla extract, and about a cup of raw honey. Now we're gonna mix it up and get ready for the most crucial ingredient, our einkorn wheat. This is the rawest, most original form of wheat. We're gonna add a half a banana to give these cookies a little more flavor. And just look at that beautiful cookie dough. We're gonna mix that up. And to top it off, of course, our chocolate chips. We're gonna use 100% organic cacao nibs, the most raw form of chocolate. Put this in the oven at 375 for 10 minutes and enjoy. These are the tastiest cookies I've ever had. And for more recipes like this, check out my Real Food Cookbook. You can find the link in my bio.